time for the Bell Breakdown. Josh Bell here, reviewing two new movies out in theaters. Jumanji, first up, The Next Level. This is a sequel to a sequel.
It's a sequel to a reboot to a movie that was based on a book.
Right.
That's what Hollywood is these days.
That is Hollywood in a nutshell.
But the previous Jumanji movie, I thought was actually kind of fun. I know you were
The one from a few years ago.
Yeah, you were not a fan.
I didn't love it, but I love each cast member individually, like The Rock. I mean, you got Kevin Hart, tons of funny people in this movie.
Yes.
I just didn't love, I think I compared it too much to the original Robin Williams film.
People grew up with that, the one from the 90s with Kirsten Dunst as well. But I thought it was a fun kind of reboot and a fresh take on the premise. We had The Rock and Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, Jack Black as these video game avatars being inhabited by these teenage characters, and the contrast between them was kind of the source of the humor the first time.
Right.
And so now we more or less do that again. These teenagers get sucked back into Jumanji, the video game, to rescue one of their friends who's gone in there alone. But this time around, there's a couple old guys. Danny DeVito and Danny Glover play one of the characters' grandfathers and his friend. And so they get sucked into, and so Kevin Hart and The Rock get to spend about half the movie playing old men, which gets old kind of quickly. Again, it's more of the same stuff. There's some cool, big adventure set pieces. Some bits are funny. Awkwafina is an addition to the cast as a new video game avatar, and she adds a bit to it. But overall, I feel like this is a movie where the first one did well, and so they decided, let's just kind of do it again.
Sure.
And if you weren't into the first one, definitely don't see this one. If you like the first one, you might like this, just not quite as much.
Okay, so maybe I'll stay home, but I know that there are lots of families who are probably interested in this, and you think the humor is appropriate for kids?
There are a few racy bits in this, but I think no more so than in the first one. It's trying to reach a wider audience. It's definitely not just a kids movie, but I think you're right. There are a lot of families that are going to go see this weekend.
Sounds good. All right, the other film is a lot more serious.
Yes.
Richard Jewell. This is talking about the supposed Atlanta bomber from the Olympics, 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah, Richard Jewell, who was a security guard at the 1996 Olympics, was initially a suspect in the bombing, and then of course was cleared. And this is about the ordeal that he went through during the time that the FBI and the media were naming him as the potential bomber.
And this is a Clint Eastwood film, correct?
It is, yes. Clint Eastwood, the latest in his series of
He's been busy.
He's been very busy for a guy who's almost 90 years old, and he
crazy.
makes a lot of these true life stories.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the better ones, actually. Paul Walter Hauser, who plays Richard Jewell, is quite good in this movie, and you really get a sense of this kind of overeager guy who gets in his own way in a lot of ways when he finds himself a suspect. Sam Rockwell plays his lawyer. That dynamic is really the center of the movie. There's some irresponsible depictions of the media. Olivia Wilde plays a newspaper reporter in this movie. There's been a lot of controversy about that. And for a movie that's about people rushing to judgment wrongly, it kind of does that itself. But that part aside, which is a relatively minor aspect of the movie, I thought the central drama was pretty strong. People who are interested in this true story or maybe don't even know about it, I think you can get something out of this. I think it's one of Eastwood's better movies of the last decade or so.
Awesome. I can't wait to see this. Really quickly, I got a quick question for you. The whole big question in this movie is, did Richard Jewell do the crime? And did they kind of walk that line where you don't really know until the end?
No, that's not a question at all. He definitely did not do it. I mean, I don't think that's a question in reality. The movie makes it very clear.
Okay.
It's more about what he went through when he was being falsely accused.
Perfect. Should be a good one. Josh, thank you so much for the reviews. That is the Bell Breakdown. We'll be right back.